Hi, my name is Carla Kowo, and I will talk about the last dynasty of the Romanovs. The main characters are the Tsar, the Nicholas II, Alexandra Fyodorova, Olga, Maria, Tatiana, Anastasia, and Alexei. Well, why this occurred? This occurred because they were a symbol of autocracy. This means that they rule with an iron fist. They made a number of bad decisions called by the king and the queen. First, Nicholas inherited a country that was politically unstable in 1894 and became the Tsar of Russia. At the very beginning of Nicholas II's reign, a few days after his coronation in 1896, the Kironka tragedy occurred. This was basically a human stampede. That resulted the deaths of at least 1,300 people and 1,000 more were injured. This tragedy shook the Romanov family, but just a few minutes later, then it seems that he doesn't care that much because later he went to a grand ball in the evening. This, of course, to the Russian people, Nicholas II was out of touch with the Russian subjects, and and yet they both believed that they were appointed by God to rule the people. So the political unrest continued through his reign, and in January of 1905, the revolution started. This took place in St. Petersburg, and this started because when a large number of peaceful protesters marched through the city, Nicholas II, chief of police, told his policemen to open fire to the protesters, and 100 people were massacred during this war. This, of course, triggered the other cities to rise up against the Russian royal family. The following year, in 1906, Grigory Rasputin, the self-proclaimed mystic and healer, became extremely influential over the imperial royal family. And this did not help them at all with the people. This became more and more worse because in 1914, they had the beginning of the First World War. And Russia wasn't prepared to war. It had one of the largest recorded deaths during this war. They sustained a huge number of civilians and military deaths, and this caused Nicholas to be incredibly unpopular with his people, and that's when in 1917 Russia was on total collapse, so this triggered a lot of riots and eventually it led to the Russian Revolution. And so he abdicated in 1917. He and his family wanted to go into exile, and their favorite location was the United Kingdom, but they were not granted asylum by the British government, so they were imprisoned and moved from place to place until they end up in their final residence, the House of Special Purpose. Here, the Romanov were kept under strict observation to prevent any escape or rescue. So the windows were painted over, and in one of the bedrooms, they took one of the last photos of the Romanovs. However, while they were imprisoned, a lot of political events had taken place, like the Communist Party, where they decided to take over the ruling of Russia. For them, Nicholas and his family was seen as the ultimate enemies of the people. While they lived, it was thought that it would be impossible for the Russian working class to rise. They also didn't want to the royal family to be safe because it was always the fear that they will come back and rule the country again. So this is why they were eventually murdered. And so in the early morning of the 17th of July in 1918, Nicholas was awoken along with his wife, 4 daughters and son, and some of their trusted servants, and were taken down to this basement, and a number of executioners walked into the room, and it was then announced that they were going to be executed, and they started shooting to the imperial royal family. But apparently, they were such bad shots that they destroyed a wall, and they say that the girls had all survived the first round of shots, and apparently they had sieved loads of diamonds into their dresses, and these have helped to repel the bullets of them. But like show them no mercy, they were stabbed to death. But not everything is bad, because in the end, in 1998, the family's remains were buried in St. Petersburg in the Cathedral of St. Peter and Paul, the traditional burial place of the Tsars.